Welcome IB Economics students to this third video lecture about market equilibriums, where we finally put what we learned in the past few video lectures about supply, about the law of demand and the law of supply. We put it together in this video lecture about market equilibrium in order to understand market efficiency. So let's first define what market equilibrium is. Market equilibrium. Market equilibrium is defined as when the quantity supplied equals the quantity demanded, for a product at a given price point. So in the past few videos, especially the videos about the law of supply and the law of demand, we have learned that the law of supply, as illustrated in this graph right here, shows that the price of a product has a direct correlation to the quantity a firm is willing and able to supply, that of which is an upwards sloping graph, like such. Well, the demand, on the other hand, is a downwards sloping graph. Because at higher prices, consumers are less willing and less able to pay for higher prices for the same amount of goods. Now, if we just plot the information from these two tables into the graph right here, what we will get is this scatter point graph. And putting a best fit line through them, we would be able to find these two lines. So these two lines illustrate both the demand and the supply. So this line right here illustrates the supply, that of which is equal to marginal cost. So you don't need to know what marginal cost means yet, but just know that supply equals marginal cost, and that this line right here is in representation of the supply, which is also the marginal cost line. Well, this line right here, the downwards sloping line, refers to demand, that of which is referring to the marginal benefit. So these are what the lines mean, and stuff like that. Okay, so let's go into market equilibrium. Let's look at the first scenario. Let's say prices charged at our a price of 25 right now. So this is the prices charged right now. Let's make it a dotted line as such. So let's say the price right here is 25. At the price level of 25, suppliers are willing and able to supply around 1.7 thousand, so around 1,700 units of, in this case, frozen pizza. However, in this case, consumers are willing to buy 17,000. However, suppliers at this higher price is willing to supply almost 4,500 units of frozen pizzas. That of which shows that at a price level of $25, there is an excess supply. So right here we could say at the price level in which supply is greater than demand, there is an excess or surplus of supply. So when the price level is set at 25, there is a surplus of supply, because the line as drawn to this x-axis shows that there is an excess of supply. Now let's say in this scenario, if the price level is dropped all the way down to $5 or $10, let's do the $10. At the price level of $10 per pizza unit, the quantity suppliers are willing and able to supply is around 2,000 units. The units demanded by consumers is around 4,000. So that of which we could get the second relationship between the market equilibrium. At the price level in which demand is greater than supply, there is an axis of demand or surplus of consumers. So this is what it illustrates. At the price level of $10 per pizza unit, there is an excess supply because there are more consumers willing to buy pizzas right here than producers are willing to produce. Now, the price level could fluctuate around this entire line. It could go up, it could go down, it could go, when it goes down from all the way from this period all the way here to this line where they intersect is when there is an axis of demand. Now, above this intersection, all the way up to here, there is an axis of supply. Now, when this allocative efficiency comes in, when the demand graph, when the demand curve, as highlighted right here, and the supply curve meet. So the demand curve and the supply curve, when the demand curve and supply curve meet, at this point, this red point illustrates the market equilibrium price and quantity. So in order to get the market equilibrium price, we have to draw a line down directly from the market equilibrium to the x-axis in order to see the optimal or the market equilibrium price quantity. Now, in order to see the market equilibrium price, we draw a line between the intersection to the y-axis. So these two dotted lines right here shows how you could read the market equilibrium price and quantity. So in this instance, the intersection of the supply and demand curve is met at the price of $15. Usually, okay, people put dollars before 15, and the quantity of 3. Now, at the price level of 15 and at the quantity production of 3, there is no axis supply, neither is there axis demand. This is where allocative efficiency comes into play. Because let's say if the price level rises up to 20, then there would, or 25 or even 30, there will be an axis of supply. However, if the price level falls under the allocative efficiency, under the equilibrium point, let's say to 15, to 10, to 5, to 3, to 1, to 0, at these points underneath the market equilibrium quantity, then there is an axis of demand. The axis of demand is at play. Therefore, if we look at the market equilibrium price, we could determine the allocative efficiency and at which point does the supply and demand curve meet. So mathematically, if you want to calculate this, it is quite easy. The market equilibrium equals the intersection point between the supply curve and the demand curve. That of which, if you graph the curves correctly, you could be able to see where the supply and the demand meets. Now, it's important that you guys understand how to draw and illustrate this graph and this curve. And this ends the video. If you guys have any questions, be free to ask. And I tune into the next video where we are going to be talking about shifts in demand. Now, thank you. Bye-bye.